The governor of Ondo State, Rotimi Akeredolu, and the APC candidate in the governorship election last year wins again at the appeal court as the court strikes out PDP's Eyitayo Jegede's appeal. And tonight we take a closer look at the rail agenda of the Buhari government. The Minister of Transport, Rotimi Amaechi, is one of our guests tonight on the program. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Politics Today, live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimbaloye in Lagos. It is the midweek edition of the program, and we have lined up for you some of your very top political stories, plus a conversation with a federal minister, Rotimi Amaechi. So stay with us, everyone. Some hot news coming from the courtroom. Let's give you an update of what happened in Akure today, where the Court of Appeal today struck out the suit of the People's Democratic Party's candidate, Eyitayo Jegede, in the last year governorship election in Ondo State for lacking in merit. The State Election Petition Tribunal had earlier stricken out the petition of the PDP candidate for lack of merit, but Jegede approached the appellate court to challenge the verdict of the tribunal. Before we get talking with my guest tonight, on one hand, we're talking about what President Muhammadu Buhari and the APC has done in the last 6 years in Nigeria. Tonight, we take a look at the real agenda, what the loans and the borrowings are being used for. Does it make economic sense? And what are the importance of some of these projects and infrastructure for Nigeria and its people? But before we get into that, also, we'll be having a conversation around the elections that INEC has announced today. Ekiti, Osun election, the dates have been announced. What does this mean? INEC has also told us today that there will be an increase in the polling units that we are having across the country. Now, they've taken some of the polling units, quote and unquote, put in burial grounds and in ritual grounds into a proper place. So what does this mean? We have a constitutional lawyer I'll be talking to about this for us. But before we get into our conversation, some of those that hope to be very exciting for you, let's get to hear some of your political roundup stories.
The Federal Executive Council has given approval for the resumption of the Federal Capital Development Authority Land Swap Initiative. The initiative, which was launched under the previous administration and worth about ₦1 trillion, was set up to primarily fix the infrastructure deficit in the Federal Capital Territory by swapping land with private investors who would in turn provide necessary infrastructure. A new faction of the All Progressives Grand Alliance has emerged. The faction, led by the former national youth leader of the party, Chief Jude Okeke, told a news conference in Abuja that the national executive, led by Chief Victor Oye, has been sacked for anti-party activities, gross misconduct, and conduct capable of bringing the party's image to disrepute, among others.
The National Executive Committee of our party has demonstrated this commitment by resolving that there will be only one governorship primary election in Anambra State, and it has been scheduled to take place on the first day of July 2021.
However, Chief Oye insists he remains the substantive chairman of the party, as proven by the records with the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC.
What happened yesterday, to me, I'm not moved 1 inch, because they didn't have any constitutionality, no legality, no legitimacy.
River State Governor Nyesom Wike says all is now set for his administration to enact a law to restrict open grazing of cattle in the state following the resolution of the southern governors to ban open grazing. Governor Wike says with the reopening of the River State House of Assembly following the suspension of the strike by the assembly workers, his government is prepared to send the bill for legislative consideration.
Now that our assembly has come back, we have to submit the bill on anti-open grazing as we agreed in the Southern Governors Forum. So that everybody must understand it. It's clear. Without any hesitation, we must do it.
And it appears more movement is happening in the Cross River State politics after the defection of Governor Ben Ayade from the PDP to the APC, a scenario that has changed the trend in the state's politics where for over 20 years since the return of democracy, the People's Democratic Party was the dominant political party, producing the 3 governors with over 90% of other elected office holders. Some prominent politicians at the grassroots in the state have started making their defections to the APC officially at different occasions and at various local government rallies in the state, most of them claiming they are encouraged by Senator Ben Ayade's style of leadership.
We are the face of this government. We are the face of this generation. And Nigeria is in for a greater growth with people like us and supporting the governor and standing with the young people.
So for the next 60 minutes or so, I like to be your pilot. So stay with me, everyone. Trust me to be your pilot. And I hope we will not have any hiccups in this ride. So let's begin the conversation tonight, everyone. Before we tell you about INEC's efforts at introducing new polling units and the announcement of election date in Ekiti and Osun State for next year, we'll be touching on a very crucial aspect of the Buhari's agenda, which rail is now a major aspect of the agenda of the Buhari government. Last week, President Buhari launched the Lagos-Ibadan rail for commercial purposes. There's been test drives along that track for a while now. Tonight, we have the Minister of Transportation, Mr. Rotimi Amechi, is in our Abuja studio to talk about some of the issues on the project. Thank you so much, Your Excellency. Honorable Minister, thank you for joining us tonight on the program. I guess congratulations is in order.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. I guess congratulations will be in order because this is the first rail project you started and you concluded under this Buhari government. I just wanted to know what is going on in your mind on that day when that rail was launched, because the Buhari government promised a lot. On 6 years now, insecurity seems to be a major blow into some of the performance of this government's activities. But tell me what is going in your mind. You have become suddenly the poster boy of this administration. Rail has become a major, the flagship for this government.
Well, Chem, thanks for having me. And I think I should also be grateful to Nigerians for the opportunity to listen to me. I have always said that you cannot divorce the construction going on in railway from the enthusiasm of the president. The president has given us tremendous support, especially in terms of funding and constant supervision. He consistently called our attention to what we're doing, and he wants to be briefed regularly. But beyond that, on that day, I was elated, self-fulfillment. That's why I brought my wife. That's the actual reason why I brought my wife, to say to my wife, I'm proud of the fact that she gave me all the support I needed to be able to achieve that objective, and that God, in His infinite mercy, has fulfilled the promise that Buhari made to Nigerians. You said there are too many promises that he made. I can only remember 3. He promised that the economy will grow. Is the economy growing? Maybe not at the pace everybody wants, and I join those people who think that the pace is slow, but not out of the making of the president. He promised security. Have we reduced the insecurity of Boko Haram? And the answer is yes. They have not been decapitated, but their capacity has been reduced. Then there's a new brand of insecurity that the president is beginning to deal with now. And I'd like everybody to be patient and give him some time. And that brand of insecurity is the new one, banditry, where people are kidnapped, whether you're Nigerian, black or white, they kidnap you for ransom and all that. And then they're stopping people from farming. In fact, it has affected our achievement in agriculture. Because by now we thought that we should be, how do you put it, self-fulfillment. We should have self-fulfillment in agriculture, where we eat what we produce. Unfortunately, that has also affected us. The insecurity has affected us, but the president is beginning to deal with it. And I'm sure that in the next few months, we should find a solution to that. So on that day, I was happy that the president came out to show support by coming to commission the project himself, which I was not surprised about, because in the cabinet, he's always identified it as something that was dear to him. to his heart. And then the Deep Blue project. And that project he thinks was good to avert insecurity in the maritime sector. So I was happy. I was a very happy man.
Quite interesting. I like to know also, because what is on the mind of the president, you are one of the closest people in the cabinet to him. Give us a sense of what he feels, because there's a lot of loans and the worries of Nigerians about, fine, we're seeing these rail projects happening. And does the president think, does he have any thinking that maybe we are getting too much, or he wants to get more?
Shin, I've explained this before, even in your program. When you hear the Federal Ministry of Transportation announce the award of contract, we have not gotten the loan. I've explained this to you before. I've explained this to Nigerians. We're here to get, let me tell you the only loan we've gotten. The government of President Goodluck Jonathan borrowed $500 million to execute Abuja Kaduna. We didn't borrow that money. But when we came, we had to, through the budget, complete Abuja Kaduna. We completed Itabewari from our pocket, from the budget. We will commence work next week. I mean, by this month end, in the Kaduna-Kano rail line. Currently, we are going to use the money from the budget, pending when we get loan. And the loan we will get will be reduced from the 1.2 billion to something in the neighborhood of about nearly $800 million. So, but even up to now, we've not borrowed money for Kaduna-Kano. We have also not borrowed money for the $5.3 billion, which was supposed to be Ibadan to Kano. We've not. But we've announced the contract, we've awarded the contract, the loan has not materialized, but Nigerians just think we have borrowed. Just like Nigerians think that it's the Ministry of Transport that borrows the money. We don't borrow money in the Ministry of Transport. We execute the loan. We've not borrowed money for the Lagos to Calabar. We are negotiating a loan for Lagos to Calabar. We are currently at the level of negotiation. We are also negotiating the loan from Port Harcourt to Maiduguri. We have not borrowed. Do we want to borrow? The answer is yes.
Because I know that you were telling the lawmakers at the time. Yeah, I know you were telling the lawmakers to take it easy because those lenders might be scared if this conversation and scare them away. Are there hopes that the lenders are still hopeful of giving a chance of these borrowings?
We're having a problem in the Ibadan to Kano because of the reaction of the committee of the National Assembly. The Chinese are asking, how do they know that Nigeria wants to pay back when a committee of the National Assembly is asking, questioning us about the terms of agreement? Oh, no, is there an impact? There's an impact. We've not gotten the loan from that time. We were supposed to get the loan within that period that happened. From that period till now, we've not gotten any loan. So, Ibadan to Kano, I will hang it on the National Assembly. But I'm also grateful to both the Senate President and the Speaker for intervening. They intervened to stop the young man who, the honorable member who actually chaired the committee. And that helped a bit. It helped a bit. Like I said, I'm grateful to the Speaker, I'm grateful to the Senate President, because when I complained, they listened to the complaint and came to stop the committee.
And because if you follow, following the budget and the track of the issue of repayment, I know we've been borrowing. We've been repaying some of these projects based on the records that we have. But can you tell us how far is the repayment? How much have we repaid so far?
I've lost you, Sheung. I don't know.
All right. I don't know if you can hear me now. I wanted to know that I know that...
I can hear you now. I can hear you now.
So I wanted to know how much have we repaid so far on the Chinese loans that we've taken?
The right ministry to respond to that question with Ministry of Finance, they borrow and they repay. But I think the last time I looked at, I got to know about it was about between 100 billion to 150 million repayment that we've done so far in the Kaduna Abuja. Don't forget that we've not borrowed any money yet. The only money we borrowed is Kaduna Abuja and Lagos Ibadan. Lagos Ibadan, what is borrowed is about 1.6 billion or 1.5 billion. So it has not matured for repayment. What has matured for repayment is the Kaduna Abuja, which is being repaid. I continue to say that Nigerians think we've borrowed so much. In Ministry of Transport, I don't know about any other ministry. The Ministry of Transport, no. The only loan I know we have borrowed so far in Ministry of Transport is the Kaduna Abuja where we borrowed $500 million, and the Lagos-Ibadan, where we borrowed about $1.5 billion. So that brings the total loan exposure for us in Ministry of Transport to about $2 billion, as far as railway is concerned.
So let's talk about some issues on the Lagos-Ibadan rail project. So I know that for almost 6 months now, we have about 3 stations. When are we getting more stations to that line?
No. All the stations are working. All the stations are working. You can join this. You can join the rail from Ebute Metta, and it will take you to Abeokuta and to Ibadan. In the course of going to Abeokuta and Ibadan, you can stop at any station that you want to stop. The problem is that there are not too many passengers in those stations. Where you have passengers at Agege, which by now should be working, and then I don't think that I've seen. Maybe there may be passengers at Abado, but I doubt that we have passengers at Kajola and Papalanto. But all of them are fully on.
All right. So because
about 10 stations.
All right, okay, great, 10 stations. Because it's also good for those, I mean, I know the Agbado, the Papalanto area, and I'm not sure some of those living in those areas are aware that those stations are activated for them to use. Perhaps there is a need to also publicize this. Are you planning to also, are you thinking the line of getting people to be aware that this infrastructure that Nigeria has, that they need to be able to use it, and the orientation also, because we do, for several years, Nigerians don't have the train orientation, but now trains are returning into Nigeria. What are your efforts in making Nigerians know that these are effective?
That's why the commissioning was everywhere. I thought that by commissioning the rail project, we've made it public that commercial activities have started. I don't see what else we can do. Okay, what they have currently done is to announce the timetable, the schedule for which passengers can be moved. Currently, the schedule has about 4 trains per day, 2 from Lagos to Ibadan and 2 from Ibadan to Lagos, back to Lagos. We believe that in the next few months, we should increase it from 4 to 8 and from 8 to 16 per day. 16 trains per day. We believe that as they do that, they'll be able to make publicity. They will be able to publicize the schedules, and the publication of the schedule will enable passengers know the availability of the stations and the time each train will move. And don't forget, we keep the time.
Okay, how long does the train take now from Lagos to Ibadan? The travel time?
It's slow. It currently is slow, about 2 hours, 15 minutes. It's slow. We're supposed to be doing 120, 150 kilometers per hour. So if it is 120, 150 kilometers per hour, and it is 157 kilometers, the implication is that you should be in Ibadan by 1 hour, about 1 hour 30 minutes. But pending when they will increase their speed, I think we'll continue to do about 2 hours plus.
What is still drawing them back in terms of the speed? Because I know for several months you've been testing the tracks. What seems to be drawing them back in the speed up?
It's not about track. It's not about the tracks. The tracks are okay. There are 2 things that are slowing the train from moving at the speed it's supposed to move. And I will make this joke now to Sanwo-Olu, the governor of Lagos State. The human presence in Lagos makes us drive at between 15 and 17 kilometers per hour. So between Ebute Metta up to Iju, you have to be very, very slow not to kill anybody.
Oh.
That slows us down because we are doing between 15 to 17 kilometers. This time they're not human. I will refer to them as human cows, since people don't like cows. I do like cows. So those are human cows in the sense that you see people defecating on the track, people cooking on the track. They have restaurants on the track. They sell shoes. They have furniture shop. They have all sorts of things on the track. So for that reason, we are slow. Then after that, the current drivers are Chinese, so they too are slow because they are afraid of also human traffic. They don't know at what point in time human beings will be crossing the track. Then the final reason and most important reason is that the signaling equipment, though have been installed, they have to ensure that it's in a perfect condition, because the moment there's a mistake, then the train will derail. So that's what they are testing. They're testing the signaling and the communication equipment. It's working, they want to be sure, and they think that in 6 months' time, they'll be sure. If in 6 months' time they are sure that it's in perfect condition, they will be speeding, they'll be running at 120, 150 kilometers per hour, excluding the Lagos, unless we arrest, because we're fencing, but we know they will bring down the fence. I just believe that we have to arrest and prosecute those who damage the real property.
All right. Because you mentioned that Chinese are still driving, when will Nigerians now take over the driving of the trains?
In the next few months, because they've not handed over. They have to hand over. When they hand over, then it's our responsibility. Everything, including insurance, including driving, everything.
Before I come to issues of the raids and ticketing and all of that, today the Nigerian police force arrests about 36 notorious criminal suspects. Some of them are a syndicate of a rail track. They are rail track vendors. And I know that once we've had this conversation and you plan that there's going to be some fencing in some areas of these tracks. What are you doing in that respect? How far with that plan of safeguarding because you talked about human traffic and human cows, like you called it?
I put it in quote. Don't say I call anybody a cow. I'm just putting it in quote inside. Shehu, you're a very funny character. Now, when I said human cow, please, before you take it very personal, I'm just making a mockery of those who say that running between Kaduna and Abuja that we are stopped by cows. So I'm not saying that since they say we are slowed down by cows in Kaduna and Abuja, then those human beings who are slowing us down in Lagos, what do you call them? Do you call them human cows? I'm not referring to anybody as a cow. That would be total disrespect for my fellow human beings. So, and you're being mischievous, Shehu. Now, you're talking about you're talking about security and fencing. We are fencing from Ebute Metta up to Iju and Abado. I don't know what happens after Abado, but I know up to Iju and Abado, because of the influx of human beings from Lagos up to that part of Ogun State, we are going to fence it off. I hope they don't destroy the fences. If they do, I think we need to go to the president and then to the National Assembly to either pass a law or amend the law or the railway law to include that this will they'll be taken to court. If found guilty, they should be jailed.
The ticketing now is another issue because a lot of people feel, although you've mentioned that the rail project may not make as much money to finance the repayment of the loans, but there are those who think that if you compare the railway transportation to the aviation sector, where if you want to fly premium, you pay premium. Isn't that supposed also to reflect also in the train, that you can enjoy the onboard entertainment and restaurant or what have you, food and all what have you? Because some of the opinion is that, how people-oriented the fares are, and also how much of economic sense does it make for government in terms of the money that has been spent on it. What are your reactions to this?
Sure, I want to repeat what I said in the past, that the economics of rail transportation does not in any way make repayment possible to what you get from the transportation. It's the influence, it's the impact it has on the economy that is critical. I repeated the example I gave last week. If you produce tomato, raw tomato, in Kano, and the market is in Lagos, you can in 8 hours arrive Lagos and see meet the market. Now, that's what the rail provides you. It provides logistics and other economic support to the growth of the economy. It creates employment by this logistics support. Human beings are in constant motion. When I mean human beings, I mean everything apart from fixed assets, apart from immovable assets. All other assets are in constant motion. If you want to move cement, and it will reduce the price of these commodities. So that's how the rail functions. We talk about ticketing. I also last week that was my interview with Rise, where I said that we moved from 70 million naira 70 million naira to 120 million naira in a month to now we're making 350 million naira in a month. And that's for two reasons. First, there's an increase in the cost of transportation. Secondly, there is how do you put it? We've eliminated human interaction with the ticketing system. So what you have now is electronic ticketing. That electronic ticketing that you have reduces corruption. So we're saving quite a lot of money in that regard.
We're due for a break in a few seconds, in about 60 seconds. But, I mean, a lot of people are keeping tabs on the promise that you made about free ticketing. When is that going to happen? The free ticketing you promised. You've been quoted to, yes, that you said, oh, when it goes commercial, you are going to give free tickets for Nigerians to ride.
No, that's been done a long time. That was done in 2019. Yeah, that's a long time.
So people have missed out on the free ticketing?
Oh, no, a lot of people used it by then. There was nobody in fact, I remember the president saying that, the president telling me that we must be a generous company to be running for 6 months without collecting money from anybody. That's a long time. Now it's commercial. We must pay, you have to pay for the services. And by the way, for those who use first class is just 25 seats. Then the economy is 84 seats. So when you're in first class, you have to pay about, is it 5,000 or 6,000 naira that you have to pay? You don't only have entertainment, though you buy it, you have food. Just like even those in the economy can also buy the same food, but it's located in the first class seat, coach.
Okay, so we'll take a break, and when we come back, Honorable Minister, the very crucial questions we'd like to ask about economics, also the Deep Blue project that was recently launched, the economic sense of it also, and what it means for maritime security in Nigeria. Everyone, we'll be right back after this break. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. Our conversation continues with the Honorable Minister for Transport, Rotimi Amaechi, who is in our Abuja studio. Thank you so much, Honorable Minister, for your time. A lot of Nigerians want to know, if they want to buy a ticket online, how can they go about it? Where can they go? What can they press on their computers or on their phones?
No, for Kaduna, Abuja, yes, you can purchase online. For Lagos to Ibadan, not yet. We're doing the procurement process. I think I don't know if the Ministry of Nigeria Local Corporation has advertised it for now, but they were instructed by the ministry that they should advertise for concessionaires to apply for the concession. Until we do that, we will not be able to tell you how you can procure tickets online. But
for the Kaduna, where can they go? How can you purchase online?
Oh, I wouldn't know. This is why I wouldn't know is that as a minister, if I want to go to Kaduna, I use the train, but it's bought by the ministry. I don't go personally to buy. They purchase it online and give to me, and I bought the train. So I wouldn't know. I just think that either you go to the Nigerian Railway Corporation website or something, but I know that tickets are sold online.
Let me ask you, at what, because you said that economically speaking, some of these projects, these railway projects may not be able to fund a repayment, but at what point can we start to see some kind of privatization or concessionaire to make a sense of the economics of the monies that we have borrowed?
Seun, first is that you cannot have a private investor on the construction of rail line. I've never seen anywhere in the world where that happens. Where you have concession or economic intervention by private investors is the operation. Seun, we're waiting for anybody. We're open to anybody in the world who wants to participate in that. Nigerians will tell you that they will participate. We're waiting. We'll be glad to. It's like when I say to Nigerians, we are prepared for people to invest in hotel and malls in the stations. Nobody has been able to apply up to now.
Sometime in 2017, there were talks with General Electric to rehabilitate and run 2 of our narrow gauge rail lines for a period of 30 years. What is the status of the deal with the concessionaire?
Well, narrow, what's it called? GE Transport Limited folded up, and there's nothing anybody can do about it. So this business did not proceed. However, we are reconstructing the Port Harcourt-Maiduguri part of it, but while we're negotiating with other new investors on the Lagos-Ibadan, Lagos-Kano narrow gauge rail line.
One of the other areas that is of concern to some Nigerians is some of the essence of the rail transportation, especially in the Lagos corridor. And part of the plans that you have put into the mapping of that corridor is that rail service is meant to decongest the Apapa corridor because of the traffic and the logistics issue. How soon can we start seeing the effect of at clearing those tankers?
No, we're not. Well, it's part of our ministry. I didn't want to say. I want to say that Nigerian Railway Corporation is not interested in clearing tankers. It's not their responsibility. But saying that would mean that am I saying that it is not part of the responsibility of Ministry of Transport to ensure that that the seaport is run efficiently? Well, it's part of our responsibilities. But Nigerian Railway Corporation, we have just finished the construction of Apapa to Ebute Metta, but there's a problem. And there was a huge debate whether we should inform the public or do it ourselves. In the course of constructing the track from Ebute Metta to Apapa, after we completed, we discovered that there was a depression. That depression was on the land that was previously meant for refuse disposal. So it's not strong enough, not solid enough to carry that weight. So what they're doing now is that they're excavating it up to 10 meters and filling it back with red soil. When they complete, they will lay the track back, and that will start. And we are told that we should give them up to 6 months to finish that. However, I just believe that before the 6 months, we should start the gradual process of moving cargoes. They can put a temporary line, but we should start. But if we can't start, well, we have to wait until the 6 months. They've started work on that area of Ebute Metta to the seaport. That's what they're doing now.
What are you doing? Because in other parts of Europe and some other parts of the world, you see a situation where the states and the private business run some of these train lines. And some Nigerians are asking me here that at what point would that handshake will happen? You say you have not been receiving as much feedbacks from those when you talked about the issue of concessionary, if people should build restaurants, entertainment centers around some of the stations. But in your plan, when you set out at first, at what point are you trying to link some of the state's projects into the inner part of the states? At what point?
I don't know by inner part of the state. You need to be clearer with your question.
So, because what we have done now, we've seen interstate, it's from Lagos to Ibadan, Ibadan to Calabar. You've had all of these plans. Are there plans for an interstate rail project? Are you thinking in that line?
That's for the states. No. We're not thinking about interstate rail transportation. That's purely for the state to do. Responsibility by law is interstate. So the train in Port Harcourt, for instance, there's a train from Port Harcourt to Owerri, which we are going to construct this year. There is from Port Harcourt to Aba, which is in Abia State, Aba to Umuahia, Umuahia to Enugu. All that is interstate. We don't do interstate rail transportation.
Okay, before we go into the issue of maritime security, I would like to know what is the status of the ongoing investigation at the NPA. Are we likely to see some kind of major shakeup in that agency under your leadership?
Shehu, there's a committee, there's a panel that is investigating. Why do you want me to take that responsibility and begin to discuss it on television? I have no idea. That committee is co-chaired by somebody from the Office of the Head of Service, and there are other 5 members from the Head of Service, making it 6. Ministry of Transport has just 5 members, who the Head of Maritime Sector, the Deputy Director of Legal, the Director of Human Resources, that's 3. I don't know, there are 2. Well, most important is that they are carrying out the investigation. Let's wait for them to finish.
I would like to just follow up on that. Because there are a lot of stories out there about what transpired between yourself and the former MPA head. Can you clear the air about some of these stories and perhaps give Nigerians the true picture of things that led to that investigation? Because we understand that the stories are that you've gone to the president a few times on this matter. What exactly is the true picture of things?
Gone to the president to do what?
We saw a communication about your proposition to the president to investigate and set up a committee. Give us a true picture of what really happened so that Nigerians can get clarity.
There is absolutely part of the responsibility of the Minister for Transportation is to, from time to time, give general instructions as it affects parastatals that are under the Ministry of Transport, and give general direction where you think the parastatal should head to. Now, with MPA, I just thought that the ministry was completely shut out. We didn't know what was going on in the parastatal, and we wanted to know. So we sought the approval of the president to carry out an investigation, and he approved. And then we also sought the approval of the president to ask the managing director of MPA to step aside so that she would not interfere with the process of investigation. And don't forget, we're investigating MPA and not the managing director of MPA.
Oh, so she might eventually return to her job?
I don't know. I'm not the president. Only the president can make that decision.
All right, on a final note, on issue of maritime security, at the launch, when the Deep Blue project was launched, you said a lot of things because you said it was a personal project and it worried your mind about what happened. What are your expectations? How much of crime are you expecting that this can arrest, and how much of gains can it get Nigeria?
It's expected that the maritime domain in Nigeria will be dominated by these assets and the personnel that are directed to man the assets. It's supposed to cover from Port Harcourt or from Lagos up to Calabar, all of our water. And it has the capacity to do that, to arrest criminals, to arrest bunkerers, those who break pipes and collect our oil, commonwealth in the oil and all that. That's what we did in the DWC project. The question to ask is, why the fight? Because if you hear that I was fought by literally everybody. All those who make money illegally make money out of the water are going to be stopped by this project.
All right, I'm told that our time is up. But in 30 seconds, Minister, can you clarify this to us? We understand that the company concession to handle the tickets for Lagos, Abuja to Kaduna rail line is said to be getting 20% of the ticket fees. Can you confirm that, and how is that in the interest of Nigerians?
Haba, first and foremost is a contract, and don't forget that e-ticketing is not just about electronic ticketing. It also includes some security measures at the different stations. So she's running the ticketing, she's running the security by which it's called control, crowd management and crowd control. And she's doing all that, and this is her own money. So to recover her money, she's getting 20% to recover her money. She's investing about 900 million naira or to 1 billion naira, I think so.
Honorable Minister for Transportation, Rotimi Amaechi, thank you so much for your time tonight on the program.
You're welcome, Sheung.
Thank you. Let's switch gears now and talk about election matters. The chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, has unveiled new polling units at the INEC headquarters in Abuja. He says the move is in line with the Commission's goal of expanding voters' access to polling units, and the new polling units were formerly voting points and voter settlement points converted by INEC. According to Professor Yakubu, beginning with the Anambra governorship election on the 6th of November, there will no longer be voting points and voter settlement points in Nigeria. Let's take a listen to the INEC chair.
After wide-ranging consultations with stakeholders and fieldwork by our officials, the 872 voting points and voting point settlements were converted and added to the existing 119,974 polling units. Consequently, the Commission is glad to report that 25 years since the current polling units were created in 1996, the hard nut is finally and successfully cracked after several unsuccessful attempts. Nigeria now has 176,846 full-fledged polling units. Similarly, after consultation with stakeholders, the Commission has successfully removed 749 polling units from inappropriate locations to appropriate public facilities or open spaces in line with our policy to guarantee unencumbered access to polling units for all voters. Of this figure, 232 were removed from private properties, 145 royal palaces, 6 mosques, 21 churches, and 9 shrines. The remaining 336 polling units were relocated for various reasons, which include distance, difficult terrain, congestion, communal conflict, new settlements, and general insecurity.
To make sense of what INEC has done today and the impact it might have on Anambra governorship election, which will happen in November 6th this year, and of course the announced dates for the Ekiti and Osun governorship elections, I'm being joined by the director of PLAC, Policy and Legal Advocacy Center, and also a constitutional lawyer, Mr. Clement Nwankwo, who joins us virtually from Abuja. It's good to see you, Mr. Nwankwo. Give us a sense, if you may, on what this means. When INEC says there were polling units at shrines, there were polling units in churches and mosques. How did we get to that point?
Thank you, Sean. I must commend INEC for this significant achievement. As we know, the last polling units that exist before these changes were created in 1996, which was several years ago, more than 20-something years now, 24, 25 years. And I think that when you look at the fact that the electoral system has evolved and changed so much, you would see why in 1996, individuals could own polling units. And so people would take and capture polling units and decide where to locate it. So traditional rulers would decide at a particular polling unit that they go to vote in are their polling units. So they would site it in palaces. Of course, even in religious houses, you will see this cited. And I think quite humorously, the idea that polling units are located as well in shrines, which may actually be correct, given the divergence of different interests around the electoral system. So I think it's really very important what INEC has done, being able to identify polling units, first of all, to ensure that polling units are accessible to all persons and people are not restricted because of religion, because of other considerations or politics. So I think it's a major step forward in terms of electoral process. Also looking at the polling units, you get the sense that accessibility is key and being able to create access is important. Proximity is also key. And there are several other things that this particular creation of polling units has solved. As you can note from the INEC chairman's presentation, more than 56,000 polling units have been created by this particular intervention of the commission. And I think for a lot of us who have been observing elections in this country in the last several years, what we have seen is that you do have polling units divided into what is called polling points. And those polling points then become a breeding ground for violence. Some polling units sometimes extend into several numbers of polling points. And so you would see that you would have a huge convergence of voters in particular areas. And that means that the population of people turning up to vote becomes really huge and unmanageable for even observers who are observing the elections, but especially the Electoral Commission, the security forces and services. So all of this creates huge problems, and I'm quite happy that the manageability of polling units would perhaps be made easier by these dispersal of polling units that have been converged in particular locations. And the Commission, from observation, also has made, in its regulations, have clearly indicated the maximum numbers you can have in a polling unit. And we have seen this exceed tremendously in recent elections. So I think it's really welcome to see that INEC has taken this step in reducing the tensions that hugely populated polling units create.
I know, correct me if I'm wrong, I know the Electoral Act provides that a polling unit should not be more than 800 and 1,000. When it exceeds, it's supposed to be broken down. Am I right, Mr. Nwankwo? It then gives us a sense of how people in Anambra State who voted in the last presidential election, a general election, and in the last governorship election, how will they be able to easily adjust to the new creation of these polling units? And perhaps what should INEC be looking, because the issue of information to voters so that there won't be displacement and disenfranchisement ahead of the Anambra governorship election?
Well, I think that's the challenge that this new system has created or will create. But I'm happy that there is the opportunity beginning from, I think, June 26th of the continuous voters registration that INEC is introducing for people. And I think a lot of information needs to go out there that even where you have been registered, it is important that you are able to identify where your new polling units would be and be able to work with this new opening that has been created with CVR, continuous voters registration, to ensure that you look towards registering or moving your registration to a particular unit where you would be. And I think that people also need to take into account the factor that during election day, it is always that people are operating from their homes, and registering in a working area may be a challenge. So I think there's a huge opportunity with CVR. But I think INEC needs to do a lot, and I guess all of us, even in civil society, needs to do a lot to create awareness about the implications of this. There is also the whole issue of population expansion and demography that this poses. A lot of people have moved locations. A lot of people have relocated. New areas have emerged that were never taken into account in 1996 when these existing polling units were first created. So I think there's a huge opportunity with the CVR that we all work to ensure that there is huge awareness about the CVR, what it's intended to achieve. And I think looking at the Anambra elections, which is actually really imminent, November 6th, it means that a lot of work needs to be done to ensure that new registrants, new voters are captured, but even then that existing voters are able to identify ahead of the elections in November where they would be voting and where they need to update this, that they use the opportunity of the CVR to do so. But I think overall, we must commend INEC for the way it has managed this process. As you will recollect, in the 2015 elections, or ahead of the 2015 elections, this issue came up and it became really controversial. But this commission has done so very well managing this particular process at this time, with extensive consultations with all stakeholders and creating enlightenment so that the fears around it have been minimized significantly. Of course, we will have to see how this plays out on the field, but overall, I think it's commendable what the commission has done.
All right. There has been the issue of underage voting or underage voters, padding of electoral register in favor of some parts of the country where you have unbelievable numbers. And when the issue of creation of polling units, this suspicion and this perhaps doubts in the minds of those who believe strongly that some of these underage voting or incredible polling units exist, would you say that the creation has been fair? If you look at the map, have you been able to study the distribution of these new voting numbers?
Well, what we have seen is not that INEC has registered new voters. What INEC has done basically is to use the existing information that they have to identify additional polling units. Yes, there are concerns about padding of the voters register, and everyone is expecting that the commission will continue to do what it needs to do to ensure that you build a credible election. Personally, my thinking is that you perhaps need to go back to the drawing board with the Nigerian voters register. But I guess INEC has its reasons for continuing to update in what it calls continuous voter registration, that register. I personally think that the register needs to be restarted, so to say, especially with new innovations that we have seen in electronics, new innovations we have seen with technology. That way we can weed out what has been a surplusage on the voters register. And I think beyond that as well, on voting day, I think the electoral system needs to be strengthened such that you can easily identify infringements on the voters register, whether it's double registration, underage voting and all of that. I think that becomes a process of managing the elections that we all need to ensure continues to be in place. And we're hoping, and I think every Nigerian is getting exceedingly on the edge right now about the Electoral Act, electoral bill. It's a major concern for everyone now, the delay that is on with it. But our hope is that when the National Assembly reconvenes on Tuesday next week, it will put aside every other business and ensure that we do have an electoral act in place immediately.
On a final note, and perhaps maybe in 30 seconds, this new idea of announcing election dates long before the election, how does it come to you? Now we know Ekiti and Osun elections, the dates these elections will happen. In 30 seconds, can you give us an idea of what these will add, the value it will add to our elections?
It would create certainty, but more importantly, the politicians tend to manipulate the electoral process by not being prepared. And when they are not prepared, they create circumstances that compel the Electoral Commission to postpone elections. And we've seen that with several elections in Nigeria in recent times. So our hope is that the politicians, the political parties, see these dates well ahead, prepare for it, and get set for elections on the dates that have been announced.
Mr. Clement Nwankwo is perhaps one of Nigeria's most experienced election experts, a constitutional lawyer, and the executive director of Policy and Legal Advocacy Center. Thank you so much for the insights you have given to us on this election matter. Thank you so much indeed.
Thank you, Sheun.
And that's our show for tonight, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm Sheun Kimale. Bye for now.